G'day, g'day. My name's Alan Gamble. Welcome to another very close episode of Aussie Box Office Charts, where the top three this weekend are separated by $30,000. Let's dive right in. Ending up taking number one was The Conjuring Last Rites, moving back up to number one in its third week of release with another $1.5 million, $1.534 million, dropping 42% in its third week for a current total of $11.6 million. In number two is Demon Slayer Infinity Castle with $1.525 million, dropping 63% in its second week of release for a current total of $7.3 million. We will dive into both of those movies after the top 10 and break down exactly what we're looking at with the new highest grossing anime of all time in Australia. And at number three, we have The Bad Guys 2 premiering in third spot with $1.5 million for a current total of just over $3 million. Downtown Abbey sits at number four with just over $1 million, dropping 38% in its second week of release with a current total of $3.6 million. And rounding out the top five, we have A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey rounding out the top five with $770,000 for a current total of $950,000. I was too busy this weekend to catch that, so I didn't get onto it. So first of all, looking at the top five, Conjuring Last Rites moved up to first. This is a pretty good run for that. It is now the highest of that franchise, and we will dive into it and get a Conjuring universe update after the top 10. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle dropping 63%. Now that might seem like a lot, but for an animes very often drop 80-90% in their second week of release. They are very, very front-loaded. So a 63% drop is actually a really, really good hold for an anime. So don't let you feel bad if that's your cup of tea. $7.3 million, we'll dive right into that in just a second. Moving on to 6 through 10, the new Aussie movie Kangaroo opens in number 6 with $511,000 for a current total of $625,000. The Roses moves down to number 7 in its third week of release, dropping 46% with another $386,000 for a current total of $3.4 million. Jolly LLB 3 opens in 8th with $256,000. The Long Walk moves down to number 9 in its second week of release, dropping 23% for a current total of just under $700,000. And rounding out the top 10 is Evil Unbound / 731, depending on where you look at it. That brought in $179,000. Jolly LLB, the third movie in that franchise, opening well for the Aussie market. Let's dive into some deeper charts. Alright, let's take a look at the history of anime movies in Australia. Lo and behold, the incredible success that is Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. In fact, Demon Slayer in general. Going all the way back to 1999, Pokemon the first movie made a total gross of just under $5 million. Final Fantasy Spirits Within in 2001 did just about the same. Now, I put a caveat on that because it's not an anime, but it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. I've included it there just to be thorough. In 2004, Yu-Gi-Oh! Made a total of around $2 million. Dragon Ball Super Broly in 2018 did around $2 million. And then Demon Slayer Mugen Train in 2021 did $4.4 million. Historically, we've never been able to crack that total $5 million range. Your Name in 2021 made $1.2 million. Dragon Ball Superhero in 2022 made $1.5 million. Jujutsu Kaisen 0 in 2022 made $2.2 million. Demon Slayer Into the Swordsmith Village made $1.3 million in 2023. Suzume in 2023 made $1.9 million. The Boy and the Heron broke records in Australia in 2023, bringing in a total of just over $5 million as a total, which is really impressive for an anime. Demon Slayer To the Hashira Training in 2024 made a total of $1.3 million. And then Demon Slayer, the movie Infinity Castle, is at $7.3 million. Miles ahead of anything that came before it. Anime movies are made around that $1.5 to $2 million. or that $4 to $4.5 to $5 million. Never been exceeded throughout history as far back as I could find. Sorting that high to low, you can see pretty clearly where our winners and losers are, but you can also see the even brackets that they fell into. Now, these numbers are unadjusted for inflation. So you're going to be able to predict what happens when we adjust for inflation. Unfortunately, for now, Demon Slayer the movie, adjusted for inflation, still has a little bit to go. Because Pokemon the first movie, if you discount Final Fantasy, if you're a person that says, no, that's not a true anime, that's fine. I put it there with an asterisk for a reason, but still, Pokemon the first movie in 1999, adjusted for inflation, $10.1 million. Now that said, Demon Slayer the movie Infinity Castle could get there. It's not that far off. To bring in another, $2.5 million? It's only in its second week, but if it continues to drop hard, it might not get there. But still, by any metric, smashing success for Demon Slayer. Anime fans should be happy, especially if they went and saw it. They contributed to helping get this thing up that chart. Taking an updated look at the Conjuring universe, we also have a new highest Conjuring movie of all time, with The Conjuring Last Rites now sitting at $11.6 million, with the next nearest being The Conjuring 2 in 2016 at $10.8 million. So you can see there, it's the highest, but it's still on par with the rest of the franchise, like the big hits. The Conjuring 2, The Conjuring 3 have always been the heavy hitters of the franchise because they're the original franchise, with the spin-offs doing better or worse. Sorting high to low, you can see a good, Conjuring, none, Conjuring, none, Annabelle. So, Annabelle's less successful financially, the Nun, mid-pack, The Conjuring, definitely a fan favourite. If we adjust for inflation, The Conjuring Last Rites does have a little bit of room to go. That said, it's still probably going to get there because it's doing far better than any of its predecessors, so I'm reasonably sure it will get there. Already being at about $12 million, and it's only got to get to 13.7, and it's still number one of the charts. It's doing really well. Really healthy franchise. They're not going away anytime soon. Taking a quick update to our 2025 top 10 for the Australian box office. So the top 10 box office for all 2025 releases. Only one minor change this week, and we'll get to that, but a Minecraft movie stays at number 1 at $56.2 million. Lilo and Stitch is at number 2 with $34.3 million. Jurassic World Rebirth at third with $31.4 million. In fourth, we have How to Train Your Dragon at $30.3 million, and hot on its tails, but I don't think it's going to catch it. Number 5, F1 the movie at just over $30 million. At number 6, we have Superman at $24.8 million. Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning at number 7 with $23.6 million. The Fantastic Four First Steps moves up to 8th spot with $17.8 million, dropping Paddington in Peru from all the way at the start of the year down to number 9 with its $17.8 million, and Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy rounds out the top 10 with its $16.5 million. Nothing dropping out of the charts this week, so we will see there's quite a few just below the 10 at like that $11 to $12 million range that are fighting to get up into the top 10. We'll see if they make it. But that's the top 10 for now. Moving on to upcoming releases. Theatrically wide on the 25th of September, we have One Battle After Another. The latest release from writer-director Paul Thomas Anderson finally releases, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, and Regina Hall. Much anticipated, I will be catching it on the weekend. We also have Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues. Rob Reiner returns with a legacy sequel of the 1980s classic. We have The Strangers Chapter 2, a new horror sequel to the 2024 release, directed by Rennie Harlan and starring Madeline Pescetti, Richard Brake, and Rachel Shenton. In limited release, so check your smaller and local cinema chains, we have Mirage, a Malayalam language thriller out of India, written and directed by Jitu Joseph, about a woman joining forces with a journalist to investigate a train crash. We also have Fish Flew Away, a romantic drama from China directed by Zhou Quan. And finally, we have They Call Him OG, or it may be labelled as just OG, a Telugu language action thriller from India that does have a lot of buzz behind it. So I expect to see that one on the charts next week. Moving on to streaming releases, we have Marvel Zombies, a new 4-episode miniseries on Disney Plus from creators Brian Andrews and Zeb Wells, where the Avengers are taken over by a zombie plague, releasing on Disney Plus on September 24th. We also have A Man in My Basement, a new horror mystery from director Nadia Latif, starring Corey Hawkins and Willem Dafoe. That one is on Disney Plus on September 26th. In returning series, Slow Horses returns for its season 5 on September 24th on Apple TV Plus, and Alice in the Borderlands returns for season 3 on September 25 over on Netflix. Only 3 movies watched for this week's challenge, thanks to having a bit of a TV backlog, having to catch up on Gen V. But let's look at what I watched. First up was Cool as Ice from 1991, directed by David Kellogg and starring Vanilla Ice, Kirsten Minter, and Deezer D. For a 90s themed challenge, I'm not sure you can get more 90s vibes than this movie. With a logline of, "When a girl has a heart of stone, there's only one way to melt it, just add ice." Which makes 0 sense, because ice doesn't melt things, certainly not stone, but that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to things that don't make sense in this movie. Generic in terms of plot, boy meets girl, paint by numbers, etc, etc. The movie walks the line of being so bad it's good, so with a beer, you might have a good time with it. Next up was the late 90s movie With Go from 1999, directed by Doug Liman, starring Sarah Polley, Timothy Oliphant, and Katie Holmes. A movie that was first added to my watch list after the Multiple Stories challenge. A really cool crime comedy, very stylish movie of its era. Had a great time with it. Finally, from 2021 was Escape from Mogadishu, directed by Roo Sen-wang and starring Kim Yoon-suk, Zo In-sung, and Ho Joo-ho. A Korean movie set during the Somali Civil War during 1990 and 1991 from the perspective of Korean diplomats, both North and South Korea, as they were petitioning the African nations for United Nations votes for membership. A really interesting look at a conflict that I was not super familiar with from a historical perspective, and while it's not super accurate in terms of historical context, the broad strokes ideals are there, and it gives you enough information to go and look up further details if you should choose. But yeah, really good movie. For this week's challenge, flowers, plants and trees. So things that have those things in the title, like Steel Magnolias, plot-based things like Day of the Triffid or Little Shop of Horrors, active names like Rose McGowan and Forrest Whitaker, or outside the box like Children of the Corn or Master Gardener. Got a few examples like Killers of a Flower Moon, Calcium Kid, Day of the Triffids, but let's have a look at my shortlist. I've got things like Batman and Robin for Poison Ivy, Eden, Seed of a Sacred Fig, Fallen Leaves, Flower, Big George Foreman, One Battle After Another counts, and we've got a few there, so we'll see how we go. That is it for me this week. Tune in next week where we will be seeing exactly how Demon Slayer holds up in its 3rd week of release, as well as The Conjuring. Will One Battle After Another take top spot? I think it might. There's a lot of buzz for that movie in cinema circles, and I will be catching that on the weekend. And it will be applicable for next week's challenge due to one of the actors having the name of Wood. So I may touch on it and give my brief thoughts in next week's video. But that is it for me this week. Are you heading out to catch One Battle After Another? Let me know. Otherwise, have a good one, watch more movies, and I'll see you next week. Bye!